nerdy, unqualified, and indistinguishable from rambling. Welcome back to the A&D Show. You know, honestly, I can't believe we didn't have this opinion before.
I can't believe we didn't talk about this sooner.
Oh man, these guys are not ready for this.
I will never understand why people listen to this show.
You know, I guess opinions may vary.
I can't wait to do one episode and then we forget to do episode 2. It's gonna be awesome.
All right. I agree. Hello and welcome back to the A&D Show. I'm David.
I am Austin.
And it's so good to just be back.
It's been a year and a half. How long?
A while. It's been a while.
We did season 4, episode 1,
and that was all we did.
So,
yeah, it's been a while. I think our last episode was Christmas themed. It was our first episode for season 4 and our only episode for season 4. We really truncated that season just because
writer's strike.
Writer strike. Yeah. We'll blame it on the writer strike.
Yeah.
But we're back and we've got some stuff to talk about. And before we get started, though, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that no seals were hurt in the making of this podcast.
Good info to have.
Reaching out to all of our seal friends out there, telling you that we support you and that none of you were hurt during the making of this podcast. Thank you very much. And Austin, what are we going to talk about today?
I have had a hankering to discuss the issue of Marvel and the issue that I see of their focus on quantity over quality. And I just feel like, we've hit on this before in the past, that like most of the Marvel stuff coming out since the end of the Infinity Saga has just been, for the most part, awful.
Right.
The Hawkeye show was okay. Moon Knight was okay. WandaVision was great until the final episode. And then, but like, it used to be when a Marvel show came out or a Marvel movie came out, it was like just you had to go see it immediately. Like, you couldn't wait to see it. You had to, you were just dying to see it, trying to avoid spoilers. And I can't tell you the last Marvel movie that I watched.
Yeah.
Like, I think I started Quantumania, quit that halfway in.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that's come out, it's just been awful.
I would agree with that fairly wholeheartedly. It's not often on this podcast that we actually are in complete agreement, but I think this is one of those few times that I think we can probably both agree that we're kind of tired. There was a term that I heard a while back called franchise fatigue or cinematic universe fatigue or whatever, and I really think that Marvel has just kind of beat a dead horse on this one, and they're just it seems like they're constantly cranking out more and more and more, and it always continually gets worse. And it's not that the production quality goes down, because some of these things are really beautifully made. Take, for example, the movie The Eternals. The Eternals came out a while ago. If you haven't seen it, I wouldn't recommend it. It's such a garbage film, but it is beautifully made. Like the special effects, the cinematography, it is a beautiful film to look at, but the story is just dumb and the characters are not relatable. It's rough.
As the resident Thor, world's biggest fan between the two of us.
Yeah.
I was stoked about a new Thor movie, and I don't think I watched a second of that movie because everyone I've talked to is like, yeah, it's not good. Like, it's not good. Don't waste your time. Yeah. And it's just, it's so frustrating to see a franchise that I never wanted has just gone just to pot. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I know that they're pushing this new one with Kingpin, and I can't remember what it's called. I don't think anyone knows what it's called.
Is it Echo? Is that the is
Yeah,
it the
Echo.
show? Yeah.
Echo.
Yeah.
Uh, the Marvels looks
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
And I just, now, I'll say that there is some hope for the future. A Deadpool 3 is
Mhm.
probably going to be solid. You hope. Ryan Reynolds has really kind of given his all for this franchise. And then there's talks of kind of redoing the X-Men franchise, um, which people hated the last run of X-Men movies, but I thought they were phenomenal. Dark Phoenix wasn't great, but I didn't think it was bad. I enjoyed the First Class kind of franchise. But I also know that a lot of people didn't really like it, and so I get it. But I have yet to see a good Marvel movie or show since what was the last one? Endgame, I think. Was it Endgame or was
Endgame was the last Avengers movie. Now, I will say, and this is gonna be fairly divisive between the 2 of us, I think, but I will say there have been some that are continuations of that better era of Marvel that are, I think, good, that are
yeah,
watchable.
yeah.
So
Winter Soldier and Falcon was pretty decent.
Falcon and Winter Soldier was good. It was plagued with rewrites and changes because it at first had featured very heavily a pandemic type plot line that they had to completely rewrite because the pandemic happened, the 2020 whatever. But it didn't suffer from that change. In fact, I think it probably I didn't even notice. I wouldn't have known
Yeah,
unless I'd watched videos that showcased that. Some other projects that I thought were good were obviously things like I really enjoyed the Loki series. The first and second seasons were good. I really liked, like you said, WandaVision. The last episode was a little weak, but the series as a whole, that
yeah.
with crazy, chaotic style change was really fun to
I
watch.
think yeah, and I can't speak to Loki because I think I've done the first 3 episodes of Loki, and then I kind of just it wasn't
Yeah,
even like I didn't want to watch it. I was just kind of like I don't know. It didn't capture me,
yeah.
and
Well,
maybe I need to try it again. I don't know,
I will
but
say if you're interested in some of the better content that Marvel has released in the past 3 or 4 years, I will say Loki is probably in the top for me, and it's just because from season 1, episode 1 to season 2, episode 10 or whatever the last one was, the arc that they show, it's like they've taken because you see throughout the entire phase 1 through 3 or whatever of Marvel, and you see the arc that Loki goes on as a character from the first Thor movie, the first Avengers movie as a villain. Then you see that arc, and then at the end of Endgame, he's actually martyred for being a good guy,
mhm.
and you kind of get this kind of cool arc for his character, and then it kind of goes into like that character being pulled from that timeline before he's had all those experiences that made him a hero, and then you kind of get to see that it was part of who he was regardless because the arc continues and it shows his heroic transformation
Right.
throughout. It's pretty good. On the film side though, post phase 3, post Endgame, I really enjoyed the No Way Home Spider-Man movie. I know that it was basically just
Oh
fan
no, no,
service.
yeah, I like that, but I've never considered. I know that this version of Spider-Man is in the MCU,
Mhm.
but to me, it's always been a Sony property, and so I've
Yeah,
never necessarily held it uh, in the same vein as the MCU, even though it technically is in the MCU.
right.
Uh, I don't know. I guess I've always looked at Spider-Man differently, um,
I get that.
personally. But we discussed before. I think Andrew Garfield got a bad rap. I think he
Yeah,
was a great Spider-Man, but we've had that discussion before that I don't know why
yeah.
people hated him, but I thought he was great.
I think the Guardians Volume 3 was a good send off. I really I love Chris Pratt. I loved his work in those films. I enjoy him as an actor, and I think a lot of his projects are great, but I particularly enjoyed his Peter Quill uh, rendition, and I liked I guess not to continue the same train of thought, but I enjoyed his character arc from this kind of wounded little boy kind of persona to this kind of self-sacrificing hero at the end. I really like that, but I cannot stand the way that Marvel doesn't allow their characters to die
Yeah.
and die completely. Like I really respected them for letting Iron Man and Tony Stark die and his sacrifice have purpose and weight. I really liked that.
For
That
now.
made a lot of sense for his character. But now they're
For
talking
now.
about wanting to bring him back. And
Yeah,
all
there's which that to me, I think that if the rumors are true that they're really pushing Robert Downey Jr. to come back as Iron Man would be a complete disservice to the franchise,
to the
and it would be,
fans, to the
yeah, I
character.
think it'd be something based to fans. I think that if you bring him back, you just can't,
Yeah.
can't,
But
But to be fair, Star Wars brought back Palpatine, so what do I know?
Ugh, that was horrible. That's not even. Let's save that for a different discussion
That's a
because
whole, yeah.
anyway, because there's been a lot of Star Wars content. We may bring that up in another episode
Mhm.
to all of our viewers out there. So be ready for that long and painful discussion. But I will say though that I really appreciated I liked Volume 3 of Guardians. I thought that was a really good entry into the franchise. I thought it was one of the better films that has come out since the end of Phase 3. And but I just didn't like the fact that Peter Quill's sacrifice just was completely undone and he was happy and lived happily ever after. I didn't like that. I don't know if you've
I
seen.
agree.
I'm sorry. I meant that was a spoiler. Listen to that if you haven't watched it. I'm so sorry. In the end, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched the movie and you want to see it and you don't want to be spoiled, just pause or fast forward another minute and we'll skip past this part. But in the end, Peter sacrifices himself as he's jumping through the ship and he doesn't quite make it. And it was this really gripping, heart wrenching, like he was going to die. Like it was almost set in stone that he was about to die. And then out of nowhere, whoops, no, psych, no big deal. And they bring him back and he's fine. And it's one of those things that like nobody likes to watch their heroes fall. But at the same time, when it comes down to it, if you have heroes that fight for the survival of their loved ones, of the world, and the stakes are always so low that they're never really in danger, and because they're too valuable an IP for this company, this bloated cinema company is never going to let this character go because it's too valuable to them.
Right.
If you know that as the viewer, then no matter what happens when I go into this movie, I'm never going to have to worry about the hero dying. And that really kind of takes away some of the heft and brevity of the story because they really do write them. Some of these characters, they write them really well with this very self-sacrificial persona. And that's incredible. I think that's a really awesome thing to see and to watch. But then when you realize that, it's like walking up to somebody being invincible, knowing that you can't die and saying, I would die for you. Like, what weight does that statement really carry if you know and they know that you can't die?
And this is this is the list of movies and shows since No Way Home.
Okay.
Hawkeye was okay.
Mediocre.
More what ifs, which I've never been a fan of the what ifs. I don't enjoy them.
Yeah.
The Multiverse of Madness.
Didn't like that one at all.
Awful. Moon Knight.
I enjoyed that one, but I enjoyed it because it didn't tie into the grander franchise at all.
Yeah,
it was a standalone project.
It's a standalone.
The Werewolf by Night special movie or short film or whatever was the same way. It didn't tie into the main chronology, and it was great. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it because it wasn't tied in all that well.
Right. You got Thor: Love and Thunder, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Wakanda Forever, Quantumania, Guardians 3, Secret Invasion, and The Marvels. And Echo. Oh, and Echo, yeah, that's the newest one, I guess. And so you sit there and it's like you've got probably what $200-300 million tied up into those things there, if probably more than that.
Much more than that. I think She-Hulk and Hawkeye each had over 200 million for their series individually.
I have yet to meet one person that says that that She-Hulk was good.
I'm not gonna be the first person to tell you that it was good.
I
There were parts of it that had comedic value. There were character tie-ins from previous installments in the grander franchise that I thought were kind of a neat tie back. There was a great cameo role from Daredevil that I thought was really good, but it was so throwaway and it didn't really do the character any service at all. It was very, very. It was kind of an insult. Like if you remember, the Netflix Daredevil show was like the supreme Marvel property that came out. It wasn't done by Disney. It wasn't done by Marvel. It was done by Netflix, and it was absolutely freaking amazing.
Yeah, and so
good.
was the Punisher.
And the Punisher. Now there were other shows that were also tied into that didn't quite do as good. Iron Fist was watchable to me, but not to really anybody else. It wasn't great. Jessica Jones was okay. I heard that David Tennant's villain in that show was really good, but I couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
The Luke Cage show, again, same thing. I just really couldn't get into it. But Daredevil and Punisher were unbelievably good. Brutal and
I
violent,
just say,
but good. Yeah.
Can I say that I may be one of the few people in the world that thinks that the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie was phenomenal? I loved it.
I did too.
As a kid growing up, I thought that was just like the antithesis of movies. Like it was incredible. It's incredible.
Was there more than one?
No, there was an Elektra movie that came out after.
Because Elektra was a side character, Jennifer Garner, right?
Yeah. But I think about Daredevil and it had Colin Farrell as Bullseye, and it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal movie, and everyone hated it. And I'm like, how do you hate this? Like I watched it on repeat, man. Like it was great.
It was good. I mean, of course, I just like Ben Affleck. I'm not gonna hold that back. I think when it comes down to it, this is again maybe a discussion for a different episode. So we can pause it right here and push this off for another time. But I think Ben Affleck was a phenomenal Batman and Bruce Wayne, particularly in the context of which they wrote the character. They based his version of the character off of
Frank that aging Batman. Yeah.
And I loved it. I thought his physical presence was there, his acting prowess was there, and I really think he got the short end of the straw whenever the whole reviews and stuff came out for that whole cinematic universe.
Robert Pattinson is possibly the best Batman. Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say something negative because Batman with Pattinson is.
We're going to get off on a tangent here, but Pattinson is a phenomenal Batman.
I agree. And you know what's great though about Pattinson is it's like he's just the slightest bit channeling the best parts of his sparkly vampire role, and that was the very quiet, brooding nature of the character, and that works so much better as a dark soul, my parents were murdered in front of me kind of character versus like a very love-stricken, angsty teen. We
are in a whole different franchise here now. We are.
Yeah.
Let's if you're new to the show, this is just how it goes. So I'm sorry. You better get used to it.
We'll come back to DC in another episode in the future because we've
not had a good DC conversation in quite a while.
Yeah,
I think DC was our very first episode, and I don't know that we've. I think we discussed the director's cut of Justice League, but we haven't really discussed a whole lot since then.
Yes, and there has been quite a bit of films and things. Yeah. Some of them that I've even watched this week. I just recently got the chance to watch the new Aquaman. And I have thoughts, but we'll save them for another episode. But no, so let's talk about Echo really quick. Echo is the newest show,
and this will be you driving because I've not seen it yet, and I want to see it. I love the Kingpin character played by the guy from Law and Order,
Vincent D'Onofrio.
I think he does. I think he's great for that role.
Yes,
but I've been waiting for a reason to watch it, and I don't know that I have one just yet.
Well, let me give you my breakdown, and then maybe this can be your reason for watching it. Okay? What Echo is, at its core, is a spin-off story of a one-off subtle villain from the Hawkeye show. The Hawkeye show wasn't great. I love Jeremy Renner. I think he's a great actor. I've loved his Hawkeye character, and I loved the whole family man slash I want to murder you in your sleep kind of vibe. I love the contrast there. That's fun. And what's the name of the girl? I can't remember her name. The Haley Stinnett, maybe
Steinfeld,
Steinfeld. Yeah,
Steinfeld.
whatever. Jerry. Anyway, she did a great job. She's a really likable actress, and she played a really relatable character. And there was a one-eyed golden retriever in the show, which was lovable and adorable. But ultimately, the show was very bland. There were no stakes. There was no threat. It was just very meh. But it was watchable. It was enjoyable because if you like the characters, you'll like the show. But it just was very. It just didn't really do it for me personally. But what I will say is in one of the 6 or 7 episodes or whatever it was, there was a character, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but there was a character. She was an assassin working for the Kingpin. And her name, I can't remember her name, Yelena or something like that. No, that's not it. That was Natasha's sister. Anyway, she was deaf, and she was a deaf amputee, but also an assassin, and she was amazing. It was her the actress's first ever on-screen role in her whole life. And they were, I guess, Marvel and Kevin and everybody else over at the Marvel Studios were so impressed by her, and thought that even considering her different language that she spoke and her disability with having an amputated leg, like they thought her physical presence and her acting and her character was so cool and interesting. So what they did was they took that character and they wrote and I don't know, it might have been comic book based, I don't know, but they basically expounded upon that character, gave it backstory, and then showed a little bit of the connection to Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk. And that was cool. It was a 5-episode miniseries. It was really interesting because there was a lot of American Sign Language. So, if anybody that watches the show is connected to the deaf community, it's something that will be really cool to engage with on that level. Talk with some of your hearing impaired friends and see what they think about it if they've seen it. It was interesting because it was kind of like A Quiet Place in that most of the dialogue was in sign and was in closed captions, whatever, subtitles. And so it was interesting. It was very different. My wife and I watched it together, and we kind of found ourselves just sitting there, just kind of listening to the music and to the ADR and all the background sounds and the Foley artist stuff that really let them shine, which was kind of fun. But the story was interesting too, because it was just kind of a backstory of this character. Everything leading up to where she was in Hawkeye, and then everything leading past that moment from Hawkeye when she assassinates the Kingpin. That was what happened in Hawkeye. She shoots Kingpin in the head. I don't know if you remember that or not.
No,
But
it's been so long.
yeah, she shot him in the head. And so anyway, but the whole thing is that like it ties in with Daredevil to a certain degree. He makes another appearance, and they really did him justice this time. It was a lot more of his aggressive, brutal fighting than it was him trying to have sex with She-Hulk, which is basically all that he did in She-Hulk. Was they just boned a few times. It was so stupid. And then they really tied in Kingpin's backstory as well. And here's what I liked about the show. The show was a good show. It seemed like a long runway to a very short flight. It didn't really have much of a climax at the end. It was building, and then it was just kind of petered out at the end. But there were plenty of things about the show that I liked, and here's one of them. What they did with Kingpin and Daredevil is they basically canonized the entire Daredevil series by writing the backstory, even showing clips from the original show, particularly to do with Kingpin's backstory about killing his father with a hammer and all this other stuff. Like it was if you've seen that show and you know what I'm talking about, you'll understand it was a pretty particularly dark and brutal part of that show. but it was just incredible backstory, character building for that character. And because they've pulled the same actor over, and because now they also own the rights to the characters, they can canonize those characters and they don't have to start from scratch with the same actors on the
Right.
same characters. They can say, this has already happened. Let's bring together in some new characters into that story and continue that. And that's what I'm really excited about, because there's a new show coming, I don't know when, sometime maybe later this year or next year, called Daredevil Born Again, that is supposed to kind of pick up Daredevil from Netflix and kind of carry that on. So my general consensus of the show, and I hope that I haven't said too much to ruin or to kind of spoil the show, but my assessment of Echo is it is a good show. It deserves a watching. The fight scenes, the choreography was really good, really well done. I love the way that they approached the hearing impaired portion of the story and the character building, and there were some really interesting things that are brought to light about this main character. I can't remember what her name is, I'm sorry, but about this main character and her relationship to Kingpin because of her hearing impaired status and all this other stuff. It's really intricately woven in there, and I really enjoyed it. So if I could give it a rating, I don't think we've ever done ratings on this show,
No, no,
but I'm
we
going
don't. We don't
right now.
usually.
I'm going to give it a rating. I'm going to give it out of 5 stars. I'm going to say it was easily a 3.8 out of 5. It was more entertaining than the entirety of Hawkeye, and it had a lot of the brevity and weight of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it definitely wasn't the best that Marvel's ever done.
Right.
But it really crushes the frick out of pretty much anything else. I haven't seen the Marvels yet. I'm waiting. It's supposed to be coming out next week on Disney Plus. I'm gonna watch it. I really liked Brie Larson's first
We
outing.
discussed. We discussed. I didn't like Brie Larson's character. We've
I
discussed this
liked it.
before.
Yeah, I liked her outing
Like any
as
of it.
Captain Marvel in the first movie. I liked it. I didn't care for her character pretty much any other time in the entire franchise, but I did like her outing as Captain Marvel the first time. I think she gets a short straw sometimes. I think she does a fairly good job in my opinion. But anyway,
So with everything that's coming up, here's a list of the upcoming Marvel movies and shows.
okay,
Deadpool 3 comes out in May.
excited about that a
You
lot.
yeah, you got to think that should be pretty solid. You're hoping at least.
Yeah,
Captain America: Brave New World,
I'm excited
which
about that one too.
was called New World Order, which makes me wonder if the Red Skull will be back. I mean, in the comic books, the New World Order was the group that Red Skull ran. So you wonder, they've changed the title. Will he be, will the Red Skull be back in there? And if it is, will it be Hugo Weaving or will they recast it? And you hope not. Hugo Weaving was so good
He
as
was
Red
really good.
Skull. I mean,
They did recast him though for Endgame.
Did they really? I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so when they
I always
go
heard Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, when they go to get the Soul Stone,
Yeah,
because the thing is, you can't really tell that it's Hugo when all the prosthetics are on.
but
So as long as
the voice sound of just like it.
as long as they get somebody that does a fairly good facsimile of his voice, they can
Now
pretty
I'm
much put
sad.
anybody in that.
Now I'm
And so
sad.
that's what they did was they recast him. I think they actually approached him for the cameo, and he turned them down, which I couldn't say that I blame him. This
No, why?
this bloated garbage of a
Yeah.
cinematic universe. But I
So
will say
after
though, let me jump in real quick about the new Captain America, New World or no Brave New World.
Brave New World.
There's a couple things about that I think that are going to be fun. They're going to, which William Hurt passed away, sadly, rest in peace. So Thaddeus Ross
It's Harrison Ford now.
is now going to be recast with Harrison Ford, which I love Harrison Ford, so I'm excited about that. But there's rumor about him becoming the Red Hulk, which I'm so excited about. We've never had an on-screen iteration of that, which should be fun, which in that same context should mean, if that's true, should mean that there should be some other reprisals. We would probably more than likely see either a version of or the ongoing version of Bruce Banner and the Hulk, which will be fun. there might be some crossovers and characters brought in from the She-Hulk series.
Right.
She-Hulk might make an appearance, and some other characters, Abomination, some things like that, which would be fun. But I will say there is a whole plot thread. I just read an article about this just before we started recording. There's an entire plot thread that they have completely scrapped, an entire plot thread of the film that they completely undid, and there was a whole cast and crew dedicated to that particular portion of the show or the movie that is no longer in the movie. They cut it on the editing
You
room
know,
floor.
it's funny because I heard about this today as well. Because for some reason, so when I was a kid, I was a big wrestling fan,
Mhm.
and I watched the Royal Rumble the other day just because it was on. I'm like, watch Royal Rumble, and I saw a thing today that Seth Rollins, who's a pro wrestler, he was supposed to be in that group, and
Yeah,
they basically cut the entire premise of
the
that out,
the entire thing.
which to me, this late in the game, that makes me wonder if the movie's gonna have some struggles.
Yeah,
You know, if you're cutting major plot points out of a movie,
uh-huh.
that makes me wonder if there's some major, because you saw that with Justice League.
Yeah,
Whenever Snyder left because
mhm.
his daughter had passed away, there were a ton of cuts and a ton of reshoots, and it was not what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Uh, so it makes you wonder if you're going to have a really bad scenario there.
Well, the headline was that I saw, well, one of the headlines that I saw particularly about this film was, Captain America: Brave New World undergoing reshoots from May to August, which is May, June, July, August. 4 months of reshoots, and I didn't do the research, I didn't read the rest of the article, but somebody's comment on that was, it's going to be a great film when the reshoots take longer than the entire original shooting schedule. So I look at that, I'm like, okay, well, if it's common knowledge that it took less time to shoot the original
Yeah,
project than it is taking for them to completely reshoot the film, it sounds to me like it's going to be a Justice League scale
yeah,
change where it's going to be a
yeah,
completely different movie by the time they get
which
done with it.
worries me.
Yeah.
You've got Agatha Coven of Chaos as from that character from WandaVision.
Yeah. I'm not particularly excited about that.
No. Then you got Thunderbolts,
That one has
which I'm
promise.
intrigued by that.
Yeah,
I always like I liked Suicide Squad.
I did too.
Now I wasn't a fan of Birds of Prey,
It
but
wasn't. Yeah.
I liked Suicide, and I like the second Suicide Squad, like the Suicide Squad redo, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it.
I
I
liked
enjoyed
all
them.
3,
Yeah,
but
I
I will
enjoyed them.
say their goodness is rated in the Suicide Squad, the newest one,
Hmm.
and then Birds of Prey was a little bit better than the original Suicide Squad, just in character development, in my opinion.
Okay, whatever. And then probably the one that I'm most excited for, honestly, is the Blade remake.
Is that supposed to be
So
coming out here this year?
next year,
Next year.
I think. When I was younger, I was probably too young to watch Blade, um,
We probably all were.
and I loved it. But I didn't realize until I was older that was a comic book thing.
Yeah.
I thought it
It
was a
was
cool. I thought it was a cool Wesley Snipes movie. I was excited about it.
one of the first
Um,
Marvel adaptations.
yeah, and I thought Blade was phenomenal. So I really hope that that's a home run. And then Fantastic Four, please be good.
Yes.
Please,
I will be honest
please be
about
good.
that project, though. I was a little upset, and yet at the same time, not terribly put out, I guess, but I was a little upset that there were all kinds of fan castings and dream castings for the Fantastic Four, and they almost all of them included John Krasinski as
Mhm.
Mr. Fantastic, and Emily Blunt as the Invisible Girl, and I thought that would have been amazing. I was so excited. That was probably the only redeeming factor of the Multiverse of Madness movie, was that we got to see
Mhm.
John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, but like for 45 seconds
Yeah,
right before he gets eviscerated by
yeah,
Wanda Maximoff, which then ruined the whole movie, in my opinion. But anyway, we won't talk about that one anymore.
yeah.
That's just,
Then
but
you've got Krang Dynasty and Secret Wars. And what are you gonna do with Krang Dynasty with Jonathan Majors being kicked out of the MCU? Now you
Yeah.
got to go a whole different direction.
Well,
You basically got to change the title of the movie
the rumor is that they're recasting,
again.
and they're gonna be recasting with John David Washington.
Yeah, but my feelings on and I like him as an actor.
Yeah.
I think he is a great actor. But my feelings on recasting is that it's just like you're supposed to forget who's who, and
Well,
so
it's not something that Marvel is unaccustomed to. They've done it a few times. They
Mhm.
did it with, Bruce Banner. It was originally Edward Norton. Actually, they've done it 3 times. They did
3
it
times.
with, I can't remember the first guy's name. Do you remember his
Eric
name?
Bana. Eric
Eric
Bana.
Bana, yeah. And then they had Edward Norton, and then, of
Mhm.
course, Eric Bana's Hulk was probably not canonical to anything, but
No.
Edward Norton's Hulk and the story surrounding it and the events surrounding it and other characters in that are canonical. So they've
Mhm.
recast Bruce
Yep.
Banner and the Hulk already once.
They
They're
recast
already
Rhodey.
they recast Rhodey. They're gonna be recasting Thaddeus Ross. Who else?
But
I'm sure there's
Thaddeus Ross, I can give a passport because the guy's dead.
I
I
mean,
don't think
yeah,
you're recasting if
yeah.
the guy is dead, you can't really. It's like that to me is not a recasting. That's just and then it's like I don't know. I
Oh,
just
they recast, oh my gosh, what's his name? From Thor, one of Thor's buddies, the blonde guy, they recast him from the first movie. They recast him in the second movie
oh
as
yeah, it
your
was Keanu Reeves and Point
doppelganger.
Break.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And they recast
Keanu
him
Reeves and Point Break.
with your doppelganger. What's his name? What's his name? The guy that plays Shazam.
Oh, Zachary Levi,
Zachary
who I
Levi, yes.
love, who I love.
That's your Hollywood doppelganger.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
yeah.
He seems like a real good dude. Like
Yeah, I loved him in Chuck. I thought he
Chuck was
was
phenomenal.
awesome in that show.
Well, I tried to rewatch Chuck recently,
Yeah.
and the first like few seasons are so good, and it jumps the shark pretty quick. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man,
I've never finished the show. I've only ever gotten to the first episode of season
I
4.
skipped around quite a bit. And like I did a lot of like Wikipedia lookups, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna watch like I'm gonna read the episode recaps for like probably 65 to 70% of like the last like 2 seasons, and I just watched
Yeah.
like the episode that sounded really good, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at
I've
all.
never been able to finish it. I've watched seasons 1 through 3, and they're great, and that's where
Mhm.
the series should have ended. It
Yeah.
shouldn't have gone on for 2 more seasons. It should have stopped there.
Yeah, well, I mean, in my heart, it should have gone on, but like because like it was just it would show that I loved, but I think in retrospect, yeah, but like I was talking to someone today about shows that started off so good that went so bad. Chuck's on the list. Heroes is number 1 for me. Heroes was
Oh,
supposed to be
yeah.
so good,
That
and
show
I loved
was
it.
so good all the way through season 2, and then
I
season 3 just killed it.
Yeah, I just rewatched it and I turned it off like two episodes into season 3. I'm like, I'm out. Like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this: what I don't miss are the 23 episode long seasons of shows. Like that's too much. It's too many episodes.
I'm a little bit torn about it. Like, I
It's too many episodes.
like the shorter run and the longer episodes. Like, I don't miss
Yeah.
45-minute episodes. I like a full hour.
No,
But
I agree, but I don't. What I'm saying is that when you've got 23 episodes of 45 minutes each, 40 to 45 minutes each, like that's too much.
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like because like I can look at Heroes, and even the good seasons, you can probably cut out like 4 episodes easily, 4 or 5 episodes easily, like without even trying.
I will say, though, I do like, there were a few shows that fell somewhere firmly between the too long, too many episodes, and the too short. Like, I think 10 is about as short as you can go.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you can give 3 to 5 more episodes in a season and it not feel like you're just dragging it out for no reason, do it, because this
Right.
is more content. And a good example of this is the show Psych. I don't know. I'm sure you've probably seen it. If you haven't,
David.
I'm talking to our viewers. I'm talking to
Oh,
our
okay.
viewers. If you
Okay.
haven't seen the show Psych, this is a perfect plug. That is the best show that I think has probably ever been made. It's so funny, so relatable.
So let me, yeah. So my let me clarify my stance is that if it's an ongoing like season long plot throughout the entire thing,
Yeah,
20 episodes
serial.
is too long. If it's like a new story every week, do all the episodes.
Yeah,
All the
I agree.
episodes.
I agree. I
Like
agree.
like 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 CSI or Criminal Minds. All right, those are long seasons and they're great because every episode does something different. But like, I can't imagine something like Hawkeye or something like something like Moon Knight being 23 hours long just feels ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. When you put it that way, when you're talking about chapters in a story, and I think
Yes.
that's kind of where a lot of the narrative structure is kind of taking hold in a lot of these shows is instead of going back to that very one-off episodic kind of stuff that used to happen, everything's very procedural, everything's very continuous, very serialized. And so when you think about it in chapters, granted, novels are very much longer than 10 to 30 episode or hour or chapters rather, very much longer. But I will also say too,
Do you think
novels
I'm reading?
cannot.
You think I read? Okay, I'm not reading.
I don't even know how to read. No, I'm just kidding. Novels can't be adapted frame for frame, word for word.
Right.
It's just not possible. And if you were to make a full episode, a full 45-minute episode out of each one, like for example, I've got some books on my shelf behind me here that are in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 chapters, sometimes upwards of 80 chapters long.
Nope.
And but when you if you were to make a full 40-minute episode of each chapter, you could have 60, give or take 60, 50 to 60 hours of content.
Mhm.
But the problem that you're going to run into is that the reason that there's so much in each chapter is not because there's so much story happening in that window of time. It's because there's so much description happening of what's
Right.
happening around the story or the characters in the story. And you don't need all that exposition in a video because you can see it for yourself. And so, yeah, I agree. When you think about it in chapters, you can only get, depending on the breadth of the story, I guess, you can only go so far with how many episodes that you can squeeze a story. A good example of this is the Reacher series. Have you
Mhm.
watched the Reacher series
Oh, we
on
we talked
Amazon?
about this the other day. You and I talked
Yeah.
about it the other day. How
This
good it
this
is.
this show is amazing. First of all, Alan Richardson
My wife
as
hates it.
Jack Reacher. It's so good. I love it. Um, but I will say, you juxtapose Alan Richardson's Reacher to Tom Cruise's Reacher. Tom Cruise has a very quick and concise storytelling method in the both films that he was in as Jack Reacher, and neither one of them are much longer than about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Not a
Mhm.
problem. It's very quick, it's very concise, easily digestible in a single viewing in a single sitting. Alan Richardson's Jack Reacher is a lot more faithful to the novels, to the
Right.
books. I'm actually reading the book, the Kill. What is it called? I'm reading the book that the first series was.
The killing floor. It's killing
Killing
floor.
Floor. Yes, thank you. Killing Floor. I'm reading the book right now. I'm about halfway through the book, and knowing what the show amounted to in the end, it's very clear to see their how faithful they were to the books, but also just even still having 10 or 12 hours worth of video time, just how much they still had to change
Mhm.
to be able to make it work. And
Right.
so, yeah, when you think about it in chapters, it makes a lot more sense.
So where does where does the MCU go from here? As we close this out,
Yeah,
where do they go? What do they do? How do they right this ship? Because everyone knows that this is an absolute cash cow, and people
yeah,
will spend money on it. People will pay for these subscriptions for the movie tickets to go see these movies, but they're not right now because nothing they put out is worth going to see. Nothing that they put out is worth even watching on Disney Plus. So where do
right.
they go from here? How do they correct it? What do they do? My first thing is you focus on the quality. I don't care. Stranger Things comes out once every 3 years
Yeah,
and it's always an absolute banger. So you focus on the quality. Get rid of the quantity. I don't care. I don't care if there's something new every single month. I don't care about that. What I want is a good quality film, a good quality show, something that's going to grab me and will make me want to sit down and watch it. Because right now there isn't anything. So I
Yeah.
think it's like I need to watch this. And then I think number two, you've got to we talked about earlier. Let let the dead die. Don't bring back characters that are gone. Move forward with your new cast. That's fine, but you've also got to sit there and I I will say this, and I don't mean for this to be controversial. I really don't, but I think that and Star Wars has the same problem, is that you cater to crowds that aren't going to watch a movie anyway. So you make changes to characters and to castings, and you add stuff into these shows that people that really want to watch these things don't really care about, and there's nothing in there for them, but you're catering to people that don't that aren't going to watch your shows anyway. So
Yeah.
get back to what the fans want and focus on that. Quit trying to reinvent the wheel and just make good content.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think you really hit the nail on the head there, because the truth is, and I know, Kevin, I know you're watching this, Mr. Feige, Marvel, Kathleen Kennedy, if you're watching, frick you.
Yeah.
You ruined Star Wars for everybody. You're the worst.
And
Sorry.
she's still around somehow. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know how she hasn't died yet. She's got to be like 8 billion years old. Anyway, but here's the thing. And I think Kevin, I think he's on the right track,
Mhm.
because there have been a number of reports that I've read and heard about lately that he is taking very drastic measures. They're seeing that the things that they're doing are not working. And so he's making very drastic measures. In fact, what I understood is that the Daredevil show, that they basically scrapped the entire script because he wasn't happy with it. He was at first letting them do their own thing and whatever, and that he stepped in whenever all these reports and feedback and all this kind of negative, not just press, but negative response from the audience, the people that they're making this content for,
Yeah.
don't like it, And when he
And,
started,
and, and, that's, and I've always wondered that, these focus groups or whatever. Like, are you getting like random people? Are you getting actual fans that that are the ones that you're making this content for? Because
right,
if you're getting random people, they're not going to care about this stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're getting people who are art house film reviewers to review a superhero movie, you're looking at the wrong audience for the wrong feedback.
Yeah.
And so, ultimately, I think Kevin is noticing some of these things, and I think he's doing the right thing by stepping in and making these authoritative and executive decisions to stop and reconsider what's being done. But I also think that the smart choice, and I think this is also something that's in the works, because I notice that there have been a number of projects that have been cut from the roster
Mm-hmm.
because it's just they're putting out too much, and their focus, again, like you said, like the episode title, their focus is on quantity, not quality. They were thought at the beginning of phase 4 was, if we just continue to put more out, we'll just be raking in more
Right.
and more money. And the problem is, because they're putting out so much, they're not focusing on whether it's good or whether it makes sense. And so it's oversaturation. It's too much of a good thing, and it's
Agreed.
not. It's just hurting the whole platform, the whole system. And so less is more. That
Oh,
would
I
be
agree.
my assessment.
Yeah.
Less is more. I didn't mind waiting 4 years
No.
for the next installment of the story, because I could almost guarantee that wait would be worth it.
Oh yeah.
But if
I
I'm
mean,
just
I mean,
being
every.
garbage, I'm not going to be happy about it.
I mean, every like every movie that came out before before Endgame, like every Marvel movie, 90% of those were just phenomenal. I mean, start to
Yeah,
finish, just great movies. I mean, there were a couple of duds in there. People hated the Dark World. I loved it.
I didn't dislike it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, but for the most part, and again, you had to wait. You had to wait 3 years for Civil War. You had to wait. And the timeline accelerated as it got closer to the end.
Right.
But I think that kind of made them think that, hey, if we just keep putting stuff out, people will watch it. And I think like you said, I think they're realizing now that that's just not the case, and
Yeah,
and if they don't put out better quality, they're not going to get people to buy in, and that's
yeah,
where they're at. And so my hope is that again that they focus on that quality, because I do enjoy superhero movies. I'm almost 40, and I love them. I love them, and I
yeah,
mean, I would hate for them to continue to be trash, and I don't think they will be. Again, I think the right people are in place to help kind of rectify some of these issues.
yeah,
Um, but well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I am excited for the new Captain America movie. I didn't think that I would like Anthony Mackie's Captain America, and I mean, he absolutely killed it in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And there at the end, when he took up the shield, it was just it was just super cool. And you're like, all right, let's do this. Like I was pumped because I thought he absolutely killed it in that show. And I think he'll make a great, I think that'll make a great Captain America. Honestly, I think he will.
yeah. I agree. I agree. I agree. Well, here's the thing. Marvel, Kevin, everybody else over there at Disney, listen up. Because this is not a problem that only Marvel is suffering
No.
from. Disney problem. Disney is you got Marvel and you got Disney, right? Disney is the parent company that controls all of it, and Disney is doing as bad, if not worse, than Marvel is. Disney, stop pushing out crap that
Yeah.
nobody asked for and nobody wants. Marvel, you're taking the right steps, Kevin. You're doing the right thing. You just got to commit to it. So that's all I have to say. Now, before we get to the end of this episode, I want to take some time and I want to talk about things that we're excited about that are coming up here either this year, in upcoming years. It doesn't have to be restricted exclusively to film, but there are some films coming out that I am genuinely excited about. For example, and we've already talked about this, but just as an independent from Marvel kind of a situation, I'm really pumped about this new Deadpool movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really pumped about it because I've heard some rumors. I'm not going to share those rumors because I think that it deserves a little bit of it deserves a fair chance to be as good as we all hope it is. So I'm not going to discuss any of those on the podcast, but I will say I'm excited about it. There's some other movies that are coming out. I'm really, the Sony Spider-Man universe is doing some interesting things right now. I'm really excited about the Craven the Hunter movie that's supposed to be coming.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that it's going to be a bloody good time, pun intended. I don't know how I feel about the Madam Web film that's supposed to be coming out this year. I'll watch it. It
Right.
might be kind of cool. Who knows? Another installment in the Planet of the Apes franchise is coming this year or soon. I'm excited about that. I'm really pumped about this Godzilla X Kong movie that's coming. That one, I just have really enjoyed that franchise. I know it's probably just a guilty pleasure, but I'm actually really quite excited about it. The Batman Part 2 is coming. The
Mm.
Joker 2,
Two
Beetlejuice
should be
2,
phenomenal. That too. Yes. Yeah.
the new Ghostbusters installment. There's so many films with so much potential. And one of the things that I like about them is that for the most part, Venom 3, the second half of the Dune film, which was really good. And then also Tom Cruise's magnum opus, Mission Impossible, which was originally Dead Reckoning Part 2, which now has been changed
Have they?
to, I think they're
Yeah. Have they
giving
announced title
it,
yet?
I don't think they've given the title yet, but they have changed Dead Reckoning Part 1 to just Dead
Now,
Reckoning.
is this his final one?
I don't know. I really don't know if he's ever going to stop
No. I
until
hope
he
not.
dies.
I hope not.
I do
I
too.
mean, honestly,
They're so good.
don't quit. Don't quit until they're bad. My list. I'm like you. Joker Folie Ado, Batman Part 2. I think that's next year. Uh, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare
Yeah, I
with
just watched the
Cavill and Alan
trailer.
Richardson looks
Yes,
phenomenal.
I just watched the trailer
Argyle
for that
with
today. It looks so good.
yeah, Argyle with Henry Cavill. I mean, honestly, anything with Henry Cavill, I'm here for.
Yeah.
Like I'm like you. Deadpool 3 is on my list. And then I guess next year, Stranger Things Part 2 or Part 5. 5 is it 5 next year?
It's 5. It's the 5th and
The
final
final
installment.
5th.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
whatever
really excited about that.
whatever the Duffer Brothers come up with after that, but they're
Yeah.
gonna be. I'm just excited about that. But
Yeah. I'm also really excited. I know. Okay, did you ever watch the original Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze?
Okay, so listen, don't bring this up because I'm kind of upset about it because again, so my dad didn't care what we watched growing up. And Roadhouse was a movie I should not have watched. Demolition Man, I should not have watched. Dad, how could you let me watch these rated R movies as a child? But I remember Roadhouse is awesome, right? Swayze was incredible.
Yes.
And so now you're remaking it with Jake Gyllenhaal, who I love,
Right.
I just Gyllenhaal's no Swayze. I can't do it. I don't. I mean, I want to do it. Like I want to love it, but I'm afraid it's going to be just all kinds of bad. Like the trailer does not look.
I don't know. I watched the trailer. I didn't hate it. I thought it looked interesting. I really enjoyed the first one. Does that mean this is going to be good? Who knows? But what I can say is I'm going to watch it. But I will say I think the thing that I'm most excited about that's supposed to be coming out here in the next couple of years, the thing that I'm most excited about is got to be Grand Theft Auto 6 that's supposed to be coming out in 2025. I'm just excited to see how it improves upon what we've seen in GTA 5. I think that's going to be fun. That may be a bit totally different topic for a different podcast episode. We can break it down in the future, but I am pretty pumped about it.
Good. Is that it?
I think that's it. I think that's all we've got time for tonight. So we are going to call it good for this first inaugural season 5 episode. Let us know what you think. Shoot us a message on Facebook. Go to our website. Let us know. Take a listen. Watch the video. Comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube. We want to hear from you.
We'll be back. I promise we're not going to go on another 1.5 year vacation. We'll be back.
Yeah. We will be back for at least one more episode. That's going to be our tagline at the end of every episode. We'll be back for at least one more.
We lied. We lied 1.5 years ago. Okay, like Christmas 2022. We lied. We're liars, David.
You know, sometimes you just can't help yourself. You got to lie because it's just part of who you are. I don't know what I'm saying. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Adios.